I spent my entire day painting a receipt. Hi, I'm an artist. My name is Jette. Welcome to my art studio. And yes, this is not a joke. Like, I actually painted a receipt for an entire day. This is called Sip and Paint. I'm documenting my art for an entire day for you to follow along my art making process. Get yourself a tea, a coffee, whatever. Get cozy and enjoy. I actually started painting this a few days ago, which I've also filmed, so insert that footage here. I mixed a bunch of paint, and these are like different brown tones, reddish tones. Some of them have a more green undertone, others have a more like reddish undertone. But yeah, in terms of like brown tones, there is so many different, like so many different options. So I just color matched from my iPad, and now I'm going to apply this. I'm actually going to use a very like rough paintbrush. Like usually when I do realistic art, I go in with like these very like fine bristles, but I want a more kind of like textured look for this painting. So I'm going to use brushes that have like very harsh hair and a lot thicker hair. Kind of like this one. This is a bit too big, but you get the idea, I think. And that way I can build in texture. I love that about like impressionist painters, a little bit like Van Gogh style even. So yeah, going a bit more abstract for the background and then working in more detail for the centerpiece, which is obviously the receipt that we're painting. Yeah. When applying paint like this, I'm trying to get the colors right with the first layer of paint, especially with these more like abstract kind of painting techniques. It doesn't really make sense to go layer by layer and build colors. So I'm just painting the darkest color around the edges, which you can also see in my underpainting. I'm marking that a little bit here with darker shades and just going around the entire canvas with the darkest red and then building in lighter colors in the distinct areas that I've marked. And because I'm using these like wavy brush strokes, I'm kind of like blending the edges in between the different colors. And as you can see, I've mixed like a greener color for the lightest shade, and it gives kind of like a chromatic effect because there's more green in there and it has a contrast to the reddish undertone of my darkest brown. So almost like a chromatic effect using the color contrast a little bit here. Personally love that look. So that is everything I painted on day one, and now we will go ahead and paint the actual receipt. So today is day 2 of painting, and I'm gonna start by first of all getting my painting clothes on because I'm not painting in this, and then we'll just paint this receipt for the entire day. That's basically what I do. And obviously I'm going to explain to you why I'm painting a receipt. Like, there's context here. Just wait for it. It'll make sense. One tip that I really like is using my iPad for color picking and color matching, especially when I'm trying to match the exact same shade. In a photo reference, I always use like a color picker. And I also, because my background essentially is this like gray concrete floor, and I'm using the same colored background for my iPad. Having the same colored background really helps in determining the correct color value. Personally, I like that tip. Let me know if it works for you too. And now we can get started. I kind of feel like standing up today while painting. I don't really like, my bag like needs an upright position today, I feel like. All right, let's get to painting. I'm using a quick dry medium. I'm not gonna use a lot of it because I want the consistency of my paint to be a bit thicker. I don't want the coat to be like too thin because that will cause for the white to peek through. So I'm gonna have to work with less medium, more pigment. Also, as you can see, when I painted the background, I used like very visible brush strokes, and I'm using these harsh bristles as well. So when I'm mixing the paint, I do want the application to be visible. I want there to be structure. I want this to look good from like a few meters back, or like a few feet back, if you will. But at the same time, obviously, like the focal point of the piece is the receipt, the Dior receipt. So I'm going to incorporate a bit more detail than I did in the background. But yeah, I want it to be kind of like impressionistic, like a Monet, Van Gogh, but kind of like with a more current subject matter being the receipt. So that's what you see me doing here. Always very important to step back and to kind of like look at it to get a different perspective on whatever it is you're painting. Right now it's really easy. I'm getting along pretty well. I've started with this part right here, and there's not that many like different color values going on. So that's been pretty quick to paint. Though when we go and kind of like where it's more wrinkled, like in this area right here, that's gonna be way harder to paint. With a brush like this, like you cannot really be that precise with it. So I'm going to have to go in with a more kind of like tapered brush with finer bristles, although these are also like really firm. So I think, yeah, I'm just gonna use these two. And I'm a little bit scared, but I think it's gonna turn out cool. So let's continue on. I just changed into a hoodie because I got cold, which is, well, mainly because I decided to make myself an iced coffee, and that is a decision I don't regret, but now I'm cold. But yeah, comment down below what it is that you're drinking. I also just cleaned my brushes because since I'm working with a like pretty monotone color palette, and I feel like with like the thicker consistency of my paint, it is very easily mixed. So I'm kind of like losing a little bit of the texture as I'm going into the areas of the receipt that are like a little bit more or require a little bit more detail, and there's like sharper edges and sharper lines. With a bigger brush, that gets pretty hard. Also, I just zoomed out of my reference because I was kind of like zooming in too much, and so all of the color values kind of like became one area, as opposed to when you zoom out and you kind of like clearly can tell the lighter and darker parts of what it is that you're painting. So I'm just gonna zoom out here a little bit more, and I'm literally trying to like paint the bigger picture instead of the nitty-gritty details. So let's see how that goes. I have no idea how I have been working on this receipt for over 3 hours. I have no idea. Anyhow, what is missing now is the typography, obviously, like the Dior logo, which I have left some space for that. And I'm going to be trying to work that in wet and wet. So with, you know, finer brush, kind of like working that over the paint that is already on my canvas. That is going to be easier with the bigger typography. With the smaller ones, because obviously like there's the address of the store, the price, whatever is written on a receipt. I don't even know what, but yeah, there is typography on there. That is all I know. The smaller typography, I might not even write like any letters on it, just basically doing these gray lines to indicate that there is stuff written on it. That is sometimes a little bit easier and also looks nicer in comparison to like trying to actually write stuff on there with this like really structured surface in the back. Going to be hard, so trying to work with what I got here. This is my Dior receipt. Thank you for watching. I hope it was interesting. And also don't forget to follow the Grid Project, the Instagram page. See you next time.